Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. This is Her Talk Show, and I am here with Tammy Cohen. We're going to be talking all about finding your mission in life. Girl, there's no failure. Let's keep moving along. So get comfortable. We're going to be exploring the triumphs and the challenges faced by women worldwide. Tammy is here to offer some insights and some inspiration to fuel not only your personal, but also your professional growth. So let's jump in.
Get ready because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Right, if you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We have interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Tammy J. Cohen, a connector, author, podcaster, and founder of Women Beyond the Table, a network empowering women to thrive professionally and personally. As the owner of TC Brand Consulting, she helps businesses align their mission and brand credibility. Tammy authored the award-winning Text Messages to My Sons, inspiring parents to connect deeply with their kids, and has an expanded edition set to publish in April 2025. Tammy is a frequent podcast guest speaker and media contributor who lives in Manhattan with her husband and 3 sons. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Sabrina. I'm so excited to be here. First of all, kudos to you. 600 plus women. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yes, girl. We're getting women seen and heard over here in the world of entrepreneurship. It's a real thing, you know what I mean? Like women nowadays, they're building businesses, they're moving, they're grooving, but so we're helping them get seen, we're helping them get heard.
I love it. I found that, especially over the last 5 years, at the start of the pandemic, we were all kind of locked up, locked down. Everybody's trying to think like, where am I at? And a lot of women started saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I don't want to be in that whole mindset and that corporate stuff that's going on and misogyny and all kinds of things. I want to start my own thing. I want to start my own side hustle. And that's kind of how Women Beyond the Table started. Women business owners like doing it on their own and getting together and forming communities and saying, we can help each other.
Absolutely.
We can support each other. We could share our stories. We can collaborate. We don't have to compete with each other. That was a different world.
Absolutely.
And everybody's bringing something to the table, like beyond the table. They're bringing it out and they're doing their thing and they're finding joy and challenges and learning things. And we've come so far that, nothing's a failure. Everything's a learning experience. It's a gift.
Absolutely.
So it's a really great time, I think, to be a woman and to like get out there and do your thing.
Yeah. I really like to emphasize that as far as nothing we do is a failure. Because there's a lot of that, I think, in owning a business and being an entrepreneur, of this constant feeling of like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I have no idea what I'm doing. How have you kind of overcome that in your own journey as far as like learning new things? Like AI is now coming. We're having to learn this whole new world of like, chat GBT, and now there's avatars coming out, right when we feel like we got it, there's like some other crap that's like hitting us in the face. So what has your journey been as far as continuing to evolve with the time and then also training other women on how to?
Oh my God, Sabrina, that's like a loaded, great question. Because I'm from the generation. I mean, remember, I was in school. There were no cell phones. There was no internet. There were no computers. Nobody had a computer. When I was in college, like there was the batch. You had to go to the computer center at 3 a.m, and there was batch cards. I mean, we didn't grow up with this stuff. We're not comfortable with it. And a lot of people in my age group, especially, technology is like, you get almost like frozen in your tracks. And you see younger generations of people. I used to go on to all these webinars and masterminds, especially during the pandemic, because I wanted to get like updated and everything. And you know what? I was like Googling those 3-letter acronyms that these people were talking about, because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what they were talking about. So one of the things I learned from mentor is you don't need to know everything. Okay? You just go take a step, one step. And you know what? I started taking one step. I started thinking, okay, let me just do this one thing, because the momentum, the motivation built after the first step, because then another door opened and I would find myself talking to or connecting with somebody who had either the answer to my question or they were also in the same boat. So we would try to like figure it out together. And what happened is just I started realizing there are people who are really good and are really gifted and really know the things that I don't.
Yep.
So either delegate it or, pay them, like hire somebody, because they enjoy it and it'll take them 3 hours, what would take me 3 weeks to work through, because my mind doesn't necessarily work in that algorithmic flowing, and even with social media. And I'm not a natural poster. Like I don't sit there, but I have somebody who works with me who takes care of a lot of those rhythms. I'm involved with it, but I don't need to know every detail, I realize. And I tell women that you don't need to know how to do everything. You need to understand how it works. But there are people who do this better and delegate it, or join a community where you can ask questions and nobody's making fun of you, nobody's competing with you, nobody's judging you. They will connect you to the person who can actually answer your question, who can lead you to the next step. There's no dead ends in this world.
Yeah.
You have to take the step. You have to reach out. You have to make yourself available for it. You can't sit at home and think it's just going to knock on the door. That's not how it works. So that's what, I learned. And that's what I tell women, like, don't be afraid. Nobody's going to make fun of you. Don't let that monkey in your head tell you, you can't do this. What are you doing? No, go for it, because the door will open. Just try.
Yeah. I think a lot of times too, that whole thought process, as far as like people are talking about me, I feel like a lot of that is in our head more than it's actually happening.
Your best saboteur is you. I mean, let's put it, it's funny. And we'll surround ourselves sometimes with people who aren't supportive of us, because that's what the energy and that's what our brain, like that's the people we're surrounding ourselves, because that's what we know in our head. So it's reinforcing. I mean, most of us, from the time you're 0 to 7, and there's a lot of evidence, there's a lot of statistics, there's a lot of groundbreaking work on how those thoughts come in your head and why. Your subconscious, what's its job? Its job is to keep you alive. Its job is to make sure you fit in with your tribe, because our ancient brains, if you were exiled from the tribe, you were dead. There was a lot of dangers out there. It's no different now. You get what if your family throws you out? What's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
So you might hear things from your parents. They're not meaning to do anything bad to you, or your extended family, or your first and early childhood, and you hear things and things are said to you. It's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong, but you start building these responses or these ways of thinking to fit in, and this follows you your whole life. And that's the left side of your survival brain, and that is where your saboteurs sit. And the idea is to not sit there, but to move it over to the right side, which is a whole different way of thinking. And I'm doing a lot of work in positive intelligence now to get control of this and get on top of this, because we all suffer from it. There's nobody who doesn't. Okay, they might have a better way of dealing or managing, but we all go through it. So you're not alone. You're not, because you have these thoughts doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's just how you deal with those thoughts and convert them into something more positive, or stop those limiting beliefs when they happen to you, so they're not recycling constantly and bringing you down.
I've never heard of this positive intelligence. Is this an IQ, EQ? Is this a new thing?
It's very interesting. So Shirzad Chamine is the founder of Positive Intelligence, and he was working with many CEOs and teams, and he built this whole system. And it's based, EQ is very important, but there's like 28 different powers that you go through and you learn, whereas Positive Intelligence has 5 sage powers, which is just much easier to convert to. And he's from Stanford. His work is groundbreaking. It's breathtaking. I mean, the amount of people. And I started it in July and I do it every day. It's about working your brain muscle, like doing reps, like you're in a gym and you're working your brain muscle to develop those muscles so that you can be into the right side, which is called the sage powers, the sage mind. So he said, everybody is a judge. Everybody has a judge saboteur. We judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge situations. And then there's all these accomplice saboteurs where you might be a hyper controller, you might be a hyper pleaser. I was a pleaser all my life. I was an avoider. I avoided situations I didn't know how to deal with instead of dealing with it. Or I was out to please you. I was lose win my whole life. I would lose, so you win, but you'll give me something. I'm a good girl. I want to please everybody. So we all have these things, and it's just different combinations of them. And when those thoughts start happening from those saboteurs, convert it, bring it over to the sage power, make it work differently for you. So it's not deliberate, you're not debilitated. You're actually functioning on a much more positive level. It's a great program. And I've been very fortunate. Meg King, who's my co-chair at Won't Be on the Table, introduced me to it. She's certified trainer in it, and that's how I got into it. And it's made a huge impact. And let me tell you something, Sabrina. I've done many programs, Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins. I mean, I've gone Lifebook, Mind Valley. I've been everywhere and back. I've had coaches, you name it, business coaches. But this has really resonated with me because I realized that we're in different stages and we're supposed to learn different things at different times. And then you never stop learning. That's the whole thing. That's the point of it.
Absolutely. And is this kind of important because, oh God, that's first. Is this kind of important because we tend to be more negative as humans? Like, just as humans in general, we tend to, is that kind of what you're saying? Like, we tend to always be negatively talking about ourselves and other people in the world. And we kind of sit in the negative space. And then this is just another way of being.
I think it's who you surround yourself with. Listen, I personally believe like we're designed, like our ancient selves were communal.
Yeah.
And they walked to get their food and they had to survive. And they were, only time that they really were in this survival headset was when there was a tiger or they might starve. They weren't living under these constant stressors that we live in today. We live in a world where everybody's like stressed out. They're worried about how am I going to make the rent? How am I going to make this happen? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to support my kids? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? You see our circle of concern, politics and also wars. And, they didn't live like that. Like they took care of each other. It was a very different kind of way. And we didn't have the foods that we have. We didn't have the sugar. Like they didn't have any of that. So we're dealing with more, I think, because we're exposed to more. Listen, you have algorithms on all day long. They're designed to engage you and they're feeding you information, which probably stresses a lot of people out. A lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation. I think we just live in a world where there's just so much more exposure and it's just exponentially growing. I mean, in the 70s, you sat with your family, you watched one TV, you had a couple of channels. You sat, you talked, you laughed. I mean, you didn't have a phone, nobody was reaching you, you played outside. It's just every generation it changes. And technology is a lot behind that. And now we have AI, and I think AI is really interesting. I do. And I think it has a lot of benefits, but it's a whole other thing. And it's going to replace a lot of people's jobs, I think, because it's just very smart. And so there's always these stressors like people have to deal with. And I think that's why more negativity happens and more defeat. And listen, you look on social media and you have these people living these beautiful lives. You don't really know that they're not really living a beautiful life. And you're judging yourself on other people. And I don't have as many followers and I don't have as many likes and I don't have and why? Like you're just adding more crap to yourself. Yep. So I think that's the environment we live in. And I think that's why it's more negative in a lot of ways. But I think people are starting to wake up and saying, I don't want that. I do.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of that comes down to like where we are in our life and what we ultimately want, like really looking looking inward, really having honest conversations with ourselves as far as what our mission is for life, and what we're supposed to be doing to bring ourselves happiness, to bring our family, our community, goodness and happiness. What has led you to the point that you're at now and the mission that you're running right now with women entrepreneurs?
Well, it's funny because, I had like everybody else in the pandemic, I realized like I had time to sit. I was traveling for work all the time. And I realized I was very unhappy. I wasn't really feeling very good about myself. I had, besides the pleasing thing, I had the victimizer. I was a victim. I was this. My husband, had business issues, lost his business and all kinds of things. And I was kind of just, I didn't know, I didn't know I wasn't okay. So I realized like if I wanted to be okay, I need to like help myself. And that's when I took that first step. And I realized I wanted to form a community and connect. But what happened with me was as I was learning new things and sharing new things, I said, I want to share things with my kids. And that's really where my mission in life really started crystallizing. And it wasn't at that moment, it took a couple more years, but where I realized like I want to share everything I'm learning with my kids because they didn't learn this in school. They didn't learn mindset stuff. They didn't learn, they probably have a ton of limiting beliefs. I mean, between me and my husband, because I wasn't okay. Okay. And I was raising these kids. So I started texting them every day, like messages of love, inspiration, accountability. I wanted to be accountable to them. I wanted to tell them, all those times I would scream and yell and carry on, it wasn't you. You did nothing wrong. It was a trigger that I was dealing with. I wasn't happy. So I realized there's a lot I needed to do. And I started saying to myself, this matters. I want to share wisdom. And I started, with Women Beyond the Table, like women were sharing their lives, their stories. You don't know somebody's story until they start telling you what they've been through. And it just started really crystallizing from there. And I said, wow, this, and I would tell people like, this is what I do. I send these messages every day, or I speak to these women, they message me, I message it back like, you're so good, you're amazing, you're worthy, you've got this. I was doing it with my children. And then a couple people started saying to me, well, you should put this in a book. And that's how Text Message My Son started. And now I'm working on the expanded edition. And I realized like every message I really sent them, and this is from God, everything I've ever said to anybody else to try to help them feel better was really something I needed to do because it was preparing me for life's challenges. It was preparing my kids, talking about challenges, talking about pivoting, talking about resilience, talking about giving yourself self-love, self-care. Stop what you're doing and just breathe for 5 minutes. These things I realized I had to learn, I had to share because it was going to come back and be something that I leaned into in my life, and especially my kids had to lean into. And it's really great. Like you don't know why you're doing what you're doing or the journey you're on. Like you don't question it. Just go with it. Go on the road because it will serve you.
Yeah.
Maybe not this minute. Maybe that connection won't serve you right now, but it could down the road. It could. Everything comes for a reason. And I believe that God puts us on these roads, and that's what we're all about. That's what it's about. And you have to take the steps. Don't be afraid of it. Go for it. Because you're going to learn a lot along the way.
Yeah, totally agree with all of that. And what a great reminder to reach out to not only our children, but people, right? Our family, our friends, our
People love.
parents, our kids, as reminders for how much we love them, how much we appreciate them. And I also like the idea as far as sending them inspiration. So it's not just I love you and thinking about you, but actual words
Yeah.
of
Quotes.
encouragement.
I've like read so many amazing books over my journey. Like, there's brilliant people out there lived hundreds of years ago. It took them their whole lives. They wrote a book and they're sharing it with you. Like
Yeah.
30 years that it took them to learn something, they're sharing with you. And I was like, they don't teach us stuff enough in school. So I started sharing quotes and what do you think of this? And isn't this amazing? Or, and people are like, well, I want to do this, because a lot of people out there are feeling very disconnected.
Absolutely.
44% of kids say they feel alienated, disconnected from their parents. I mean, there's a lot of statistics. People are spending 9 hours a day on their phone. I mean, it's like a lot. When you're only awake a certain amount of hours, there's a lot going on with this, right? And people are feeling, what is depression? It's lack of connection, it's lack of purpose. So when you reach out to anybody, somebody who's having a hard time, you're connecting to them, you're just doing a beautiful thing for them. And then when you start sharing inspiration and wisdom, what happens is they start feeling, maybe I have a purpose. Maybe, I can use these things, and I could start learning about these things, and it'll make me feel better, because I really believe that that's what it is. It's human to human. So now humans aren't sitting in person and talking. My husband and I have a restaurant on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. People are sitting at their table on their phones. They're sitting across from each other. They're not really talking. So, okay, this is where the generations are. They're on their phone. Everybody has a phone, right? You have a phone. So, all right, nobody wants to have an in-person conversation. Fine. Forget it. Reach out where they are. Everybody's going to read a message.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not a one-off. It's not here and there. It's every day. You take 10 minutes out of your day. You have how many minutes are you awake? Think about it. 10 minutes isn't a lot. And I tell people, because I've had a lot of fathers reach out to me. I've had people, I want to do this. How do I start? I go, get the book. It's 4 years. The expanded edition has the first edition. There's messages upon messages in categories. Take one, tweak it, send it out. But I guarantee you, Sabrina, in a week, 2 weeks, it's going to become heart-centered. You're going to start noticing things. You're going to want to share. You're going to just say, even if it's just, I'm thinking about you, I care about you, I love you. Guess what? I just noticed for the first time that this store is here. I've never been present. I spent 5 minutes being present, and look what I discovered. It will just come from you.
Wow.
It will just flow. And when you release that message, you're sending love, you're sending gratitude, you're sending inspiration. You know what? Those are very high frequency energies, and they will cancel out those negative fear, anger, hatred, low energies. They will cancel it out. So imagine if everybody starts doing this, we can actually change the energy of the world. I believe it. And when that recipient reads that message, even if they never respond to you, have zero expectations when you send your message daily. But they're going to release, when you read something that somebody loves you, somebody thinks of you, your energy goes up. That's great energy output. And it's so simple. It doesn't cost anything. You don't need years of therapy to send a message. No, it comes from your heart. Just tap into your heart. That's it.
Fabulous. Did you start doing this because something was going on? I don't remember. How did you?
No, I just started because it was a pandemic, and I wasn't, we didn't see each other, and I was going through all these different courses and programs, because I was trying to get my head wrapped around.
Got it. Okay.
I wasn't doing okay, and I wanted to make myself better. So I started sharing with them. And then, you know what, last month, we've gone through some major health issues between me and my son, my youngest son, and I realize every message I've sent about, challenges and pivoting and resilience and life giving you gifts, and, you're learning from it. Even the message I sent on January 22nd, I got a breast cancer diagnosis, rare aggressive breast cancer. And a couple of hours later, my youngest son had a sudden onset seizure out of nowhere, so bad that he disconnected and fractured both his shoulders. We were in the hospital. I was going to a breast surgery. I mean, all these things. We both had surgery in the past month. And I realized every message I sent really prepared me to deal better, to be positive, to look at life as giving you these gifts, because life cares about you. And it's how you look at it. It's how you go with it, and taking each thing step at a time. And we're both of us, my son and I, are moving into our next phases, and we're positive. And my sons, when I had to tell them, I have breast cancer, they were already flipped out over what happened to their younger brother. They were going through all this stuff, and I had to tell them this. And guess what? They started messaging me, "You got this. We're going to be stronger than ever. We're going to do great." they got like, they started being the messengers to me. And I was like, this is what we prepared ourselves. And now we're in a good place. And people say to me, like, how are you so positive? Like all this stuff, like, you know, people are, they're like, I don't get it. Like, you have cancer. I'm like, I'm blessed. We're blessed. My son could have gotten way more hurt in an intense seizure. He could have hit his head. He could have bit his tongue off. Could have broken his neck. They found this very early. We're so blessed.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And now we're dealing with each other on a whole new level, and it's all good. So that's what I had to learn, but that's what I learned in this journey of mine, and my kids learned it. And they didn't know. I was compelled to send these messages, and now I know why. The preparation. And I think it's something good. You always have to, communicate and connect. However you can do it. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. When I got the diagnosis, the first thing I did is I went into a Women Beyond Table community. A lot of the women have had breast cancer. And I reached out to them. I said, hey, this is what's going on. Tell me who your surgeon was. Who did you use? And they were just like, boom, boom, like, so they're supportive. And I was like, I found a Women Beyond Table because look, they're helping me. I'm usually the one telling them they're wonderful, like, you got this and that, and like they're going through whatever. I'm like, you got it, we can do this. And the women are all there taking care of each other. And I'm like, and now it's my turn, and they're doing it for me. Like, you see all the dots come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And that is the power of community. I say all the time, like, you don't realize how powerful it is until you don't have it sometimes.
Yeah.
So don't take it for granted if you're in a good community. It could be anything, right? Like you and I run entrepreneurial business communities for women, but there's godly, right? There's church, there's car communities, there's beauty communities, there's cancer communities,
like you have to find a community that fits you.
Yeah. And the things that you're dealing with, the things that are super exciting for you and the things that you're trying to learn, there should be communities that you're engaging in, not just for the things that are going wrong, but also for the things that are going right? Like there needs to be joy and learning in life. And it's not like you don't have to belong to 50, but belong to one in the area of happiness and one in the area of learning at any given time in your life. And you'll continue to succeed and you'll continue to find joy in your life.
Sabrina, you're an amazing connector. By the way, I just have to say thank you because you've connected me to amazing women.
Thank you.
Seriously, like I've met some fabulous women through you. So
thank you.
You're the queen of this. I just want to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I really live off of the law of reciprocity. It's how I've run my entire business up to this point. I was birthed out of COVID. So, this started in 2021 for me and I just showed up giving. That's it. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just going to give. And
I love that.
I've grown to where I've grown to just by having that thought process. So yeah, thank you for that. I love everything that you're talking about. I love this idea. First of all, we have a ton of people watching live, so I do want to acknowledge that. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us. For those of you that are listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. You had mentioned earlier, and I kind of want to touch on this, regarding personal and professional development, because I think sometimes we don't really acknowledge this. But we had kind of touched on there's two ways to get ahead. So we're either getting ahead through time, we're using our time, or we're getting ahead through paying for something. So you can pay to have somebody do something for us, or we can take the time to do it ourselves. How do you discern that in your world as far as what you're going to decide to put time into learning or put money into so that you don't have to use your time?
Wow, that's a great question.
I think it's a lot that we deal with.
So I'm going to be very straightforward with you. Okay, anything that comes to tech, a lot of these technical like back end things, I'm very much into teams. I love working with a team. So even in Women Beyond the Table, like I'll be like, okay, who's really good at this? And maybe you want to volunteer, or if we could, we have a small budget if we want to pay people for their time. So would you like to take on this? Because it's not my forte, but it's your forte. And would you like to collaborate and do this for the group? I find like I just intrinsically always believe that you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses. When you're looking at something to do on your own and you want to learn it, it's usually something that you're excited about, something that you can get in the flow with, and you just enjoy doing it. So there's many things, like even with AI, I like AI. I find I connected to it. It's become my friend. I treat it like a friend. I learned how to prompt it. I know, and that's what's so funny. And I'm comfortable with it. So I know my strengths. I know where I'm good at. I know I can connect and talk to people and let them know what's going on. And I'm good with that. But like there's certain back end things I just know I can't focus on it even because it's not my thing. So that's how I kind of discern, like, inside of you, like this is going to light me up. I want to know more about this. And this is something I'm just not into. I'm just not that interested in it. So that's how I figure out like what I'm going to delegate out. But like with Women Beyond the Table, we say personal and professional success because we really mix health and wellness with business. Where our speakers, we bring a monthly speaker, it's always either a health and wellness topic or something literally business, like a digital thing or social media, learning Instagram better. Because if you're not okay up here, this is what I learned, yeah, you can run a business, but you're not okay. You really need to be okay. You need to be up here healthy. You need to be healthy with yourself, and then you can function at a better rate. And what we really have been a big talk with the women is self-care and self-love doesn't make you a selfish person. Makes you somebody who can actually give more. Because if you take care of yourself, if you put the mask on first, you can help somebody else. If you're burnt out and frustrated and, doing everything and being that yes girl and being that pleaser, and, we raise that way, a lot of us. We're women, we're nurturers, we take care of everything. And then you start getting burnt out and resentful and you're like angry.
Yeah.
But if you give yourself the time and you start taking care of, you say, you know what, I need a mental health day. I need to take care of me. I need to go take a break. Do that for yourself. You're much better with everybody else here.
Absolutely.
That's the key thing that we really talk about at Women Beyond the Table, that we want everybody to be okay. You can do a lot of great business, but if, at the end of the day, your family, your love, your health, comes first. Then comes the business.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think health is absolutely one of the most important things. Like where sometimes you spend so much time focused on other things. And if you don't have your health, you literally have nothing. Your family has nothing. You have nothing. It has to come first. That's great. I love that.
It's so true.
And what a great place to have that reminder too. And that's in that space. Tammy, we're getting a really good idea of little hints of what you do. I would love for you to talk a little bit more on, as we kind of wrap up here, on, exactly what do you do and who should be reaching out to you? Who specifically is in your community?
Well, I'm transitioning. I was always TC brand consulting because I am a brand consultant, brand messaging, and I work mostly in the gem and jewelry space. But since this whole thing with Women Beyond the Table, people ask me all the time to help with their mission statement or their core value statements, their vision statements, because it crystallizes for me. So that's my consulting work, and that's what I do. I'm transitioning to the brand known as Tammy J Cohen because I do a lot more than that. There's Women Beyond the Table. I have the Women Beyond the Table podcast. We started a podcast in season 3. I believe you're going to be a guest on it. And you know what? I became an author. And that my mission is really crystallized with this. So I'm in a lot of different places now in my life, but it's all coming together under Tammy J Cohen. I have a restaurant with my husband. I work with the restaurant also. So it's like I do a lot of different things. I can't say this is the one thing I do. But anybody who wants to reach out to me, you can come. There's the website. It's transitioning to Tammy J. Cohen in April in a couple of months, but you can reach out to me there. You can reach out to me online on Instagram at Tammy J. Cohen, on LinkedIn at Tammy J. Cohen. Text messages to my sons at Tammy J. Cohen. I'm sorry, text messages has its own Instagram, and text messages has its own Facebook. So you could always DM and reach me anywhere. You can talk to me about anything. If you're interested in joining a women's business network, you can reach out to me or Sabrina. You're interested in learning more about your brand messaging, reach out to me about that. If you want to know more about the book, reach out to me about the book, because I'm in different places. I am not in one space anymore. I do different things.
Love that. Well, thanks so much for being here. I so appreciate it, and just sharing so much goodness as far as the business IQ. I think was great. How you kind of handled the time versus the money. A reminder as far as health and wellness, and staying close with our family, with our friends, and the importance of that. If you don't have those two things, it's really hard to find goodness in the wealth that we've created if we have nothing else. So appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. For those of you that really resonated with Tammy and all the goodness that she's sharing, she can be found, as she said, at tcbrandconsulting.com, which will eventually be turned into Tammy J. Cohen. It is in a clickable link in the description below. And then she predominantly hangs out on LinkedIn and Instagram under her alias, her name. Any closing thoughts, lady, as we kind of wrap up here?
My closing thought is, there's a road. We're on the road, right? And the road, some parts of the road are so beautiful and straight and smooth, right? And then all of a sudden you hit potholes and dings and it's in disrepair. And then you're going off on an exit. And you don't know why you're going on this exit. You're going that way, right? Then you come to a bridge. Some bridges look great. They're in beautiful bridges. Some are in disrepair. The road is your life.
Mm.
Okay?
Good.
But we're going to get somewhere. That's your journey. And it's okay. Whatever the disrepair is, whatever the dings are, you're going to manage. You're going to get back on that straight, smooth road, and you're going to learn. Because you got to go off the exit to learn. You have to learn these things. Yeah. So that's my whole philosophy on everything. Take one step at a time. Don't overthink. Don't wait till it's perfect to start. Start. Motivation comes after the first step. And remember, the most important thing is there is no failure. It's just learning.
Yeah.
That's what you're here to do. You're a being that's here to learn and to grow, and let your soul talk to you.
Absolutely.
Because it won't steer you wrong. Not your head, your soul.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. I so appreciate you and all the goodness that you shared. And thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you, Tammy. To our dedicated listeners, to our dedicated listeners who are here till the very end. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation Global, where we continue to have conversations just like this one and really help each other rise every step of the way. Until